One year when I was at the ashram, we were studying an ancient text originally written in Sanskrit. And we were exploring a wisdom teaching referred to as non-attachment. As the Swami began to describe this teaching of non-attachment to us, it was unfamiliar to me, and I was confused. It seemed like, by the way that he was introducing it to us, that the only way to have true peace and contentment was to be detached from life in the world. That's how my mind was interpreting it. I had a sense that this couldn't be what was being taught, but this is how my mind was misinterpreting this teaching referred to as non-attachment. And it just seemed so confusing to me. How can we say that the only way to have true peace and contentment is to be detached? But now they were not using the word detached. They were using the English word non-attachment. But my mind had misinterpreted it as if they were speaking of being detached. So in that confusion, as we went to lunch, and then we were going to be picking up on our lesson, when we came back in the afternoon after lunch. Prior to going to lunch, I closed my eyes and I turned my attention within, and I just asked for guidance. The way that I have always done that is an inner request to the divine source of all existence. And I refer to it in this way. I say, "Dear divine grace, please let me have a direct experience." This is how I always invite guidance and insight and wisdom. So regarding this particular exploration, that day I said, "Dear divine grace, please let me have a direct experience of the true meaning of non-attachment." It seems to me that we're being invited to consider that the only way to experience true contentment is to be detached. And this can't be what they're saying, and I need help. Please let me have a direct experience of the true meaning of non-attachment. Thank you so much. And I then released that into the field and went to lunch. So I had my lunch, and as I was returning from the part of the ashram grounds where we would eat, I was walking back through the forest, and there comes a point where if you bear to the left, you'll go back to the main building where we were having our study. Or if you bear to the right, you go out in sort of a nature area where there's a beautiful lake and there's pathways and trails and areas to walk. And I got this knowing, because I still had about an hour left before the afternoon session would be beginning. And I got this knowing to bear to the right path and go over by the lake. I was drawn to going over by the lake. And around the lake, it's an oval-shaped lake, and there's a raised mound that's pretty high up above the surface of the lake that goes all the way around the lake, and they call that the upper path. And where I was entering was up on the upper path, and so the lake was to my right, and I was walking clockwise, but I was on the upper path, so the lake was way down below me to my right. And after just a few seconds on the upper path, I could just feel that I needed to go down the hill and walk right by the water's edge. There's a path right by the water's edge that's referred to as the lower path. And I just felt I needed to be right by the water's edge. So I walked down the hill through the grass and entered into the lower path right beside the water. So the water's to my right, and I'm walking clockwise around the lake. And I see this big slab of stone that's the perfect angle to sit in meditation right at the water's edge. Part of the rock is underneath the surface of the water, and part of it is sticking out. And I was just drawn to go sit right on that rock at the water's edge. So I took my seat right at the water's edge. My legs are crossed, and the water's, almost touching my knees and my feet right at the water's edge. And the midday sun is glistening off of the lake, as the little ripples in the lake are reflecting the light of the midday sun. It was just so majestic and beautiful, and I was just so taken by the beauty of this lake and this moment. And I rolled up my sleeves, and I leaned up, bent forward, and I put my hands and forearms into the water. I was about mid-forearm down into the water, and I just started sending love to the lake. And I was slowly moving my hands, and right as I started to do that, a little fish came swimming up right in front of me, looking right at me, this little fish. And its little fins were moving to keep its position right, self-positioned right there in front of me. And I was just so surprised, and I was like, oh, hello, little fishy. And so I just started sending love to the fish, and I was moving my hands very, very slowly because I didn't want to, move the water too much and disturb the fish, but I was just moving my hands very slowly to send love to the fish. And the fish was there for probably 15, 20 seconds, maybe half a minute. And then this fish swam off. And as the fish swam off, I was aware, the fish is going to go join his fish friends. So I started to send love to all the fish. And so now I'm moving my hands underneath the water much more, larger movements are happening because I'm not afraid of, disturbing the fish. And when I did those larger movements, I noticed the plant life on the bottom was being moved by my movements underneath the water as I was sending love to the fish. So then I started sending love to the plant life. I just started sending love to the fish and the plant life, and then to the water itself and the soil at the bottom of the lake and the whole lake environment. I just started moving my, hands very, quite big motions as I'm just sending all the big love that I am into the lake. And I'm just beaming love to the lake and loving the lake and loving the lake. And the energy is just building and building. And the love that I am is just so being shared to the lake. And it was an amazing moment of exhilaration and inspiration and wow. And I was so grateful for what I was experiencing that I turned my palms facing upward. My fingers were extended out and my hands came up out of the water to thank grace for this amazing experience. And as I did, I noticed the water ran right through my fingers. And so then I went back down in and I loved the water again with my arms back down in the water, and I loved the water again. And then I turned my palms facing up, my fingers outstretched, and my hands came up out of the water, and the water ran right through my fingers again. And then I went back in and I loved the lake again and raised my hands again, and the water ran right through my fingers again. And again and again and again and again and again. And then all of a sudden I realized, this is the true meaning of non-attachment. I can love the lake with open hands, allowing the lake to be as it is. I'm not needing the lake to change to love the lake. I'm not needing the lake to thank me. I'm not needing the lake to love me back, to recognize the love, to do anything whatsoever. I'm not needing anything from the lake. I am loving the lake with open hands, non-attachment. And yet I'm fully in the lake. I'm getting all wet. The water's splashing all on my pants and my shirt. I'm fully affected by this exchange, this dynamic exchange with the lake. And yet I'm letting the lake be as it is. I'm not taking some of the water and sitting up on the hillside and being detached from the lake. I'm fully engaged in this interaction with the lake. And I'm allowing the lake to be as it is. I don't need the lake to change. I don't need anything. I am simply getting to be the love that I am. And sharing that with the lake with no attachments. My hands are wide open. As I come up out of the water runs right through my fingers. The water doesn't have to love me back. The lake gets to be the lake, and I get to be the love that I am and have this dynamic exchange. And this was my direct experience of the true meaning of non-attachment.